Melissa Bennett thought she could fool everyone with a fake coupon and walk out of the store with a super discount. But the staff didn't fall for the scam. And when they tried to stop it, she freaked out in an unbelievable way. She screamed, threatened to sue the store, and even tried to leave without paying. In the end, the situation got out of hand, and the police had to be called. Do you want to know how this story ended? Watch to the end. It was supposed to be an ordinary day at Tech Value Superstore. But no one expected Melissa to turn a simple attempt to make a purchase into a real show of public shame. The way she looked at the staff with an air of superiority, everything indicated that she was about to pull something, but there was something wrong. She seemed overly excited about the prices. She picked up the items, looked at the labels, gave a satisfied little smile, and put them in the trolley with a triumphant air, as if she already knew she was going to make a profit. What nobody noticed was another shopper in the electronics section, Jennifer Adams, a mid-tier tech influencer with her own Deals and Steals channel, filming her weekly shopping haul. Jennifer had her assistant, Marco, holding the camera as she enthusiastically reviewed the latest gadgets. Little did she know she was about to capture content far more dramatic than a smartphone unboxing. And when Melissa finally reached the checkout, it was clear that this moment would be the beginning of chaos. Sarah Johnson, the employee at the counter, was no novice. She had dealt with all kinds of customers, from the polite ones to those who tried to return used products claiming they were defective. But Melissa? This one was about to enter the list of the most absurd moments in the store's history. Her trolley was full of expensive products, electronics, imported cosmetics, everything anyone would love to buy at a great discount. And that's when she made her first move. With a forced smile and absurd confidence, Melissa took a crumpled piece of paper out of her handbag and placed it on the counter. "Here's my coupon." Sarah took the paper, and before she even looked at it properly, she realized that something wasn't right. The texture wasn't that of a legitimate coupon. The printing seemed to have been done on a cheap printer. And to make matters worse, the numbers of the supposed promotion were misaligned, as if someone had copied and pasted them without much effort. Still trying to remain polite, Sarah calmly examined the paper. Then came the most absurd detail. The coupon offered 100% off. Yes, Melissa was basically trying to leave the store without paying anything, and still thought she had an official document to prove she was right. Sarah took a deep breath because she already knew this was going to be a problem. "Ma'am, this coupon is not valid." The sentence was said in a professional, neutral tone, without giving room for discussion. But of course, Melissa didn't accept that so easily. "What do you mean it's not valid? I got it from the store's official website." Sarah let out a sigh. "I've heard this kind of excuse before, ma'am. Our store doesn't offer 100% discount coupons. There's no such thing." Jennifer, who had been filming nearby, noticed the commotion and subtly directed Marco to turn the camera toward the checkout line. "This looks interesting," she whispered. "Keep rolling, but be discreet." It was at this point that the first sign of an outbreak began to appear. Melissa's eyes widened as if she were being accused of a horrible crime. Her chest inflated, and in the blink of an eye, her expression went from surprise to pure indignation. "Are you calling me a liar?" Her tone rose a little, which made some customers in the queue start to pay attention to the scene. Sarah remained calm. "I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that this coupon isn't real." But for Melissa, that was like calling her a criminal. "This is absurd. I saw this promotion on the website. This is fraud. I have rights." And that's how the chaos began. The customers in the queue were already fully aware of the confusion. Some pretended to fiddle with their cell phones, but were clearly recording the scene. Others simply turned to watch because anything was more interesting than waiting in line. Jennifer, sensing viral content in the making, moved closer, her expression a mix of professional interest and genuine concern. "Excuse me," she interjected, approaching the counter. "I couldn't help but overhear. I'm Jennifer Adams from Deals and Steals. Perhaps I can help clear this up? I cover store promotions professionally, and I've never seen a 100% off coupon from any legitimate retailer." Melissa's eyes lit up with recognition. "Jennifer Adams? I follow you. You're always finding the best deals. You know stores try to cheat customers all the time. Tell them they have to honor their promotions." Jennifer looked uncomfortable, caught between her public persona as a consumer advocate and the obvious scam unfolding before her. "Well, actually, Sarah tried to remain patient, but she already knew where this was going. Melissa began to gesticulate in an exaggerated manner, throwing her hands up, pointing to the products in the trolley as if they were proof of her innocence. "I got everything according to the promotion. This coupon is legitimate." You're trying to rip me off. By now, David Martinez, one of the managers, had been called and was approaching to try to contain the situation. The problem was that Melissa was now totally out of control. She couldn't accept that she had been caught in the lie. And when she realized that the scam wasn't going to work, she decided that the best strategy was to cause the biggest scandal possible. Jennifer, you need to back me up here. Melissa pleaded loudly. Your followers want to know how this store treats loyal customers. Jennifer, increasingly uncomfortable, tried to disengage. I think this is between you and the store. I really can't get involved in. I thought you were for the people. Melissa snapped. I guess you're just another corporate sellout. The customers murmured. Sarah tried to keep calm. David approached, and Melissa, sensing that she was about to lose, did what any clueless person would do. She threw herself on the floor, screaming. Yes, she really did throw herself on the floor like a child who can't get the toy she wants. The noise was loud. People were in shock. For a second, no one knew how to react. And then the store turned into complete chaos. She rolled on the floor, screaming about her violated rights, demanding that someone do justice. David looked at Sarah and asked, without any expression of surprise, call security. Jennifer's assistant Marco was capturing everything, his camera no longer even attempting to be discreet. Jennifer, he whispered urgently, this is going viral already. Your live viewers just quadrupled. Indeed, Jennifer had been live streaming the shopping haul, and now thousands were watching Melissa's meltdown in real time. The comments were flooding in. OMG, is this real? This lady is crazy. Wait, isn't that the woman who sells those coupon workshops online? Jennifer froze at that last comment. Marco, did you see that comment? That's when things began to escalate to an even more absurd level. Because when security arrived, Melissa decided she wasn't going to lose alone. She decided that if she was going to walk out of there with nothing, she would at least make a big enough fuss to be talked about for days. And she succeeded, only in a way she couldn't have imagined. Because before she could run out with a full cart, someone was already calling 911. Melissa was still on the floor, thrashing about as if she were having an emotional seizure, while the store staff exchanged looks of sheer exhaustion. Customers were already pulling out their cell phones to record because, let's face it, a scene like this doesn't happen every day. David, a man who must have seen everything in his life, remained calm. Madam, please stand up. She pretended not to hear. Instead, she let out a dramatic groan and rolled onto her side, slamming her hand on the floor as if she were being attacked. This is abuse. I demand my discount. Jennifer, now scrolling through her phone with growing alarm, approached David and showed him her screen. Sir, I think you should see this. It's a screenshot from a private Facebook group. This woman runs workshops teaching people how to create fake coupons and scam retailers. She charges $299 for the course. The revelation sent a ripple through the onlookers who were close enough to hear. Melissa, who had been mid-wail, suddenly went quiet, her eyes darting to Jennifer with a look of betrayal. By now, security was on the scene. Two large security guards who looked like they had no patience for clowning around stood next to her, waiting for her to understand the obvious. This had gone too far. But Melissa wasn't the type to know when to stop. She suddenly opened her eyes, as if she just had a brilliant idea, and pointed at Sarah. It was her. That woman is assaulting me. The whole store fell silent for a second. Sarah, who until then had been maintaining a professional attitude, couldn't help but let out a deep sigh. She looked at David, then at the security guards, and then turned her attention to Melissa on the floor. I'm 3 meters away from the lady. It was true. She hadn't even left the till. But Melissa didn't give up. She put her hand to her chest, as if she was feeling sick, and tried to look as pained as possible. I think I'm having a crisis. That's when one of the security guards, who had clearly run out of patience, grabbed the radio on his shoulder and spoke as calmly as he could. You can call 911. Melissa froze. Her eyes widened as if she had just realized that things were getting serious. What? The security guard didn't answer. He just repeated it on the radio. An out-of-control customer causing a ruckus and falsely accusing an employee. We're going to need police support. She jumped off the floor faster than someone who was supposedly having a crisis should be able to. No, you don't need to call the police. But it was too late. The call had already been made. Now it was time to wait. Meanwhile, the audience was enjoying the show. Customers laughed quietly. Others made comments to each other. A group of teenagers at the back of the store were already watching the live broadcast that one of them had started on TikTok. Jennifer, Marco hissed, pointing at his tablet. Your live stream just hit 50,000 concurrent viewers. People are asking if you're going to interview her. Jennifer looked torn. Her brand was built on consumer advocacy and finding legitimate deals. But this situation was spiraling into something else entirely. This is crossing a line, she murmured. This isn't entertainment. It's a crime in progress. But your viewers, Marco started. My viewers deserve honesty. Jennifer cut him off, then stepped forward to address the room. For those watching my stream, what we're witnessing is not consumer advocacy. It's attempted fraud. As someone who works hard to find legitimate deals, I can't stand by while someone tries to scam hardworking retailers. This hurts all consumers by driving up prices. Melissa looked around and realized that she had lost control of the situation. Then she went into the if I'm going to lose, at least I'm going to cause some trouble phase. She turned to the security guards and, without any logic or coherence, let loose. You are violating my rights. The tallest security guard just raised an eyebrow. Your rights to what? She opened her mouth, but realized she didn't know exactly how to answer. My rights as a customer. David had enough. Madam, customers who try to commit fraud have no rights here. That hit the nail on the head. Her expression twitched. Her mouth opened and closed a few times. It was obvious that she wanted to retort, but she had no argument. And then came the last card. The final desperation. She grabbed her shopping cart. Yes, the one full of products she thought she was getting for free, and started pushing it towards the exit, as if she was just going to walk out of there, as if nothing had happened. But there was one small detail. The security guards were blocking the way. She tried to dodge, but they didn't move. She tried to force her way through, but one of them held the trolley with one hand and wouldn't let her leave. Ma'am, that's attempted theft. She pushed the trolley harder. That's mine. No, it's not. From the crowd, a voice suddenly called out. Leave her alone. You're all ganging up on her. All heads turned to see an older woman with a "Can I speak to your manager?" haircut pushing her way forward. I saw what happened, the woman continued. This is bullying. So what if her coupon doesn't work? Just tell her nicely and let her go. David started to respond, but Jennifer stepped in. Ma'am, with all due respect, this isn't about a coupon not working. This woman is running a scam business, teaching others how to defraud stores like this one. It costs all of us in higher prices. That's her business, the older woman retorted. These big corporations make billions in profits. What's a few items to them? The crowd started to divide, some murmuring in agreement with the older woman, others shaking their heads in disagreement. It was at that moment that the police car arrived. The sirens were like an announcement that the show was over. The customers watching held back their laughter. TikTok was already on fire with the live broadcast, and Melissa realized she had lost. But of course, instead of accepting her fate, she decided she would try one last move. As soon as she saw the police officer coming in, she let go of the trolley, pointed at the staff, and shouted, I've been assaulted here. The policeman looked at her, then at the security guards, then at David, then to the customers holding back their laughter, and finally to the store's security cameras, which were clearly visible on the ceiling. One of the policemen sighed deeply, took out a notepad, and said without patience, Let's see the images before we do anything. Melissa froze, because, of course, if there was one thing she didn't want anyone to see, it was the images. The moment the policeman mentioned the security cameras was the exact moment when Melissa's posture changed. Until then, she had been shouting, pointing fingers, playing the victim. But when she heard that they were going to check the images, her face paled. It was obvious that she knew she was in trouble. For a brief second, she was silent, probably trying to calculate what to do next. The customers in the queue, who were already enjoying the confusion, became even more attentive. Some were holding their breath, waiting to see how she would react. Jennifer's live stream chat was exploding with viewers taking sides. She deserves jail time. Scammers are the worst. This is excessive for Coupon. The cops are overreacting. I feel bad for her. Maybe she's desperate. No sympathy from me. She teaches others to do this. And then came Melissa's final trick. The last trick of a person who knows there's no way out. She forced a smile, one of those nervous smiles that are clearly fake, and took a step back. Look, I think we've had a big misunderstanding here. The policeman, who was already writing everything down on his notepad, looked up. Misunderstanding. She waved her hands in the air, trying to look calm. Yes. I think maybe I took the wrong coupon. It was an honest mistake. David crossed his arms. The lady threw herself on the floor and accused my employee of assault. She blinked rapidly a few times. Well, yes, but I was under stress. The security guard holding the trolley snorted and tried to leave without paying. Melissa swallowed. Sweat began to form on her forehead. The policeman looked at David. Can we have a look at the cameras, just to confirm the sequence of events? The answer was immediate. Of course. The security room is this way. Melissa's eyes widened. But is that really necessary? The policeman didn't bother to answer. He just gestured for her to follow him. And then came the most pathetic move of the night. She pretended to receive a phone call. Yes. She reached in her handbag, took out her cell phone, and held it to her ear, saying aloud, "Hello?" No one believed her. The policeman just waited. Well, since everything's settled, I think I'll be going. She turned on her heels and started walking quickly towards the exit, as if she was just going to disappear and pretend nothing had happened. The policeman took 2 steps behind her. "Ma'am, stop where you are." She froze. I'm just going home." "You're being charged with fraud and attempted theft. If you leave now, you'll be obstructing the investigation." She turned slowly, trying to keep her composure, but her face was completely red. "Obstructing? I'm a good citizen." The policeman didn't answer. He just pointed to the security room. "Let's see the images." There was no way out. She knew that. As they headed toward the security room, Jennifer's live stream followed at a respectful distance. Her expression had changed from shock to something more contemplative. "This isn't just entertainment, folks," she said to her camera. "This is actually a really complex situation. While what this woman did was clearly wrong, I can't help but wonder what drives someone to this point. Is it greed? Is it desperation? Is it the thrill?" In the security room, the truth was laid bare. David led the team to the room where the monitors were. One of the security staff had already pulled up the images on the computer, and it only took a few seconds of viewing to put an end to any excuses Melissa could come up with. The recording showed everything. Her confidently arriving at the checkout, her handing over the fake coupon, her throwing herself on the floor, pretending to be assaulted, her trying to push the trolley out without paying. And then the icing on the cake. A perfect close-up of the coupon, clearly showing that the printing source was amateurish and that the barcode was just a string of random numbers. The policeman looked at her. She avoided his gaze. "Madam, do you have anything to say about this?" She opened her mouth and closed it. There was nothing to say. Just when it seemed the case was clear-cut, Jennifer, who had been allowed into the security room due to her media status, spoke up. "Officer, I have something to add." She pulled out her phone. "My team did some quick research on Melissa Bennett. She runs a fraudulent coupon workshop online, charging hundreds of dollars to teach others how to create fake coupons." The policeman's eyebrows shot up. "Is that so?" "Yes, but—" Jennifer hesitated. "We also found a GoFundMe page in her name. She's raising money for cancer treatments for her son. The page has only raised $700 of the $50,000 goal." The room went silent. All eyes turned to Melissa, whose face crumpled. For the first time, her emotions seemed genuine. "He's 7, she whispered. "Insurance denied our claim. I got desperate." The atmosphere in the room shifted palpably. The security guard who had been holding her cart looked down uncomfortably. Even David's stern expression softened slightly. "Mom," the policeman said, his tone still professional but less harsh. "That doesn't make fraud legal, but it's something the DA might take into consideration." The customers who were watching everything through the glass of the security room began to murmur amongst themselves. The rumor had already spread. The woman with the fake coupon had been unmasked. But there might be more to the story. She tried one last effort. I think I've been tricked. Maybe someone gave me that fake coupon." David raised an eyebrow. "You printed it out at home." The silence was deafening. The policeman let out a long sigh. "Ma'am, turn around." That's when she realized she was going to be arrested. Her eyes widened. Her lips trembled. "What?" "You're being arrested for fraud and attempted theft. You have the right to remain silent." The customers outside began to record. She looked around as if expecting someone to intervene, but there was no one there to save her. The security guard took the trolley and started returning the items to the aisles. Sarah went back to her work, and Melissa, now handcuffed, could only mutter protests as she was escorted out of the store. Jennifer, still live streaming, looked torn. "I don't condone what she did," she told her audience, "but I can't celebrate this either. There are no winners here today." Her comments section exploded with debate. "She's still a criminal. Her poor son. This system is broken. Two wrongs don't make a right. She's scamming people to pay for treatments? That's still wrong. In the end, everyone won, except for Melissa. She still tried to break free, but the police held her fast, not with violence, of course, but with the experience of those who have dealt with people like this before. People who, when they realize they've lost, try to turn their own guilt into a big show. I'm a victim, she shouted, trying to struggle away. The shoppers watched the scene with a mixture of shock and amusement. Many already had their cell phones out, filming every second of the fall of the woman who minutes before thought she was going to get out of there without paying a cent. The policemen ignored the protests and continued with standard procedure. Meanwhile, the employees went back to business as usual. David heaved one last tired sigh before turning to the attendees and saying, "Right, let's get this sorted and get on with the day." Sarah, who had been falsely accused of assault, shrugged and reopened her queue. The customers went back to picking up their goods, and the store continued to operate, even though Melissa was screaming as if she were being led to the gallows. She looked around for some charitable soul to intercede for her. "Is anyone going to let this happen?" she shouted. The silence was deafening. If there was anyone there who sympathized with her, they didn't have the courage to open their mouths. The security guard held the door open while the policeman led her out, and that's when she realized something worse than her own arrest. Outside, some people passing by on the street also started filming. And when she saw that the commotion was already attracting attention from outside the store, she went into the aisle to try to turn the table's face. She started crying, fake tears, forced sobs, trying to play the victim of a cruel system. "I just wanted my discount. This is an abuse of power." The policeman, who had clearly seen this theater before, remained calm and replied without any emotion. "You tried to commit fraud and theft. You're being detained for this." She sniffled loudly, trying to look even more miserable. "But I'm a mother. I have children to feed." The officer just pointed to the police car. "Get in the vehicle, ma'am." She hesitated. She stood still for a few seconds, perhaps expecting a crowd of defenders to appear out of nowhere and demand her release. But contrary to what she had expected, the looks around her were only ones of contempt, amusement, or sheer indifference. Then she realized she was alone, and with no more excuses, no more dramatics that could change her fate. She finally accepted the inevitable and got into the car, still muttering meaningless protests. The drive to the police station was short, but for her, it must have seemed like an eternity. She was no longer shouting now. She was silent, probably trying to understand how she got there. She went from VIP customer demanding rights to a detainee being booked for attempted fraud in a matter of minutes. When she arrived, the officer took her straight to the screening area, where they began to ask her the usual questions: name, address, date of birth. The clerk at the counter typed everything into the system with a bored look on her face, giving no sign of sympathy. "Reason for arrest?" she asked, without taking her eyes off the screen. The policeman next to her replied in the same monotone: "Attempted fraud and shoplifting." Melissa snorted loudly, still trying to look indignant. "This is ridiculous. It was just a discount coupon." The employee typed a few more words, not interested in the drama. Take out your personal belongings and put them on the tray." She looked at the plastic tray in front of her and hesitated. "What?" "Cell phone, purse, jewelry. Everything here." The employee explained without patience. "This is absurd. Ma'am, do you want me to fill this in as refusal to cooperate?" She widened her eyes, realizing that things could get even worse for her. Grumbling quietly, she took out her purse and cell phone, placing them on the tray with exaggerated drama. It was then that the counter clerk surprised her with a question that no one expected. "Size? S, M, or L?" Melissa blinked a few times. "What do you mean?" The clerk finally raised her eyes to face her and explained as calmly as she could. "For your prison uniform." Melissa's face instantly turned red. "What?" The clerk sighed. "Your lawyer hasn't arrived yet, so you'll be held in temporary detention. I need to know your size." She looked at the policeman next to her, hoping that someone would defend her from this humiliation, but no one said anything. There was no way out. Then, defeated, she muttered quietly. The employee nodded and made a note. And that's how Melissa, who tried to forge a coupon to get free products, was now about to spend the night in a police station cell. All for a piece of paper printed at home. Melissa was now sitting on a hard metal bench, her arms crossed, her expression full of anger and indignation. Her outburst had passed, and all that remained was a mixture of frustration and a growing fear of what would happen next. The clock on the wall read almost midnight. The atmosphere was cold, illuminated by white lights that made everything even more impersonal. Policemen came and went, too busy to care about one more detainee. She looked around, trying to process what had happened over the last few hours. In her mind, that day should have been a masterstroke. She had planned everything perfectly: print out the fake coupon, choose the most expensive products in the store, and walk out feeling like the smartest person in the world. But now, instead of being at home with her free items, she was sitting in a police station, waiting to see if she would get out that night, or if she would have to spend the night sharing a cell with other women who surely had much bigger problems than a fraudulent coupon. She tried to convince herself that this was an exaggeration. After all, who hasn't tried to cheat the system? But the more she thought about it, the more she realized that it wasn't just about the coupon. She had thrown herself on the floor. She had pretended to be assaulted. She had tried to run away with a full trolley. She had made the biggest possible scene in front of dozens of customers who were now probably spreading her humiliation on the internet. And worse, it had all been recorded. She felt a chill. Had someone already posted the video? Were people commenting on it? Could it be that at this very moment, her name was on some viral post full of laughter and jokes about her failed robbery attempt? She bit her lip nervously, and then, as if it were a direct gift from the universe to make her day even worse, one of the policemen stopped in front of her, holding a tablet. "Ma'am, we have some questions." She raised her eyes, trying to look calm, but the tension on her face was evident. The officer turned the tablet screen towards her, and there it was, the video. The same video that one of the clients had recorded, already with over 500,000 views on TikTok. The title: Woman tries to counterfeit coupon and throws herself on the floor like a fish out of water. She felt her stomach turn. The images showed everything. Her confident arrival at the checkout, trying to push the coupon like it was a golden ticket. Her expression of shock when she was caught. The pathetic scene of her rolling on the floor. The moment she tried to run away with the trolley. And, of course, the arrival of the police. What was more surprising was the split in the comments. While many mocked her mercilessly, a significant number were actually defending her. This is what happens when healthcare is unaffordable. She's wrong, but the system failed her first. Lock her up. No excuse for fraud. I'd do the same for my kid if I had to. Jennifer Adams had posted a follow-up video that had already garnered millions of views. In it, she verified Melissa's story about her son's medical needs and started a legitimate fundraiser for the family, while making it clear she didn't condone the fraud. The policeman crossed his arms and looked at her with a bored expression. "Do you have anything to say about this?" She wanted to shout. She wanted to protest. She wanted to say that it wasn't fair, that the recording was illegal, that she was being humiliated for no reason. But she knew better. Nothing she could say would change reality. So, for the first time that night, she remained silent. The policeman sighed. "Your lawyer has arrived." She blinked. "Lawyer?" The policeman nodded and pointed to a door. "Yes, someone paid your bail. You can go, but you'll still have to appear in court to answer the charges." She stood up quickly, anxious to get out of there as soon as possible. But when she entered the room where her lawyer was waiting, she realized that the bad news wasn't over yet. To her surprise, it wasn't a public defender. It was Jennifer Adams, accompanied by an actual attorney. "Why are you here?" Melissa asked suspiciously. Jennifer sighed. "Because what you did was wrong, but letting you rot in jail won't help your son. The attorney is paid for. We've started a legitimate fundraiser for your son's medical bills. But in return, you need to shut down your coupon scam business and do community service." The lawyer, a middle-aged man who looked like he had had enough of life, closed his briefcase and looked at her without any enthusiasm. "Well, ma'am, it seems we have a problem." She crossed her arms, trying to hide her frustration. "This is all a big misunderstanding." The lawyer raised an eyebrow. "You were caught trying to use a fake coupon. There are witnesses, videos, and a history of aggressive behavior in the store." She looked away. "Still, it's just a coupon." The lawyer laughed, a short, humorless laugh. "You know what makes it worse?" She frowned. "What?" He pushed a piece of paper towards her. It was a letter from the store. "They're suing you." She widened her eyes. "What?" "They're demanding compensation for the damage caused, including lost staff time, the loss of the items you try to take, and the impact of the confusion on the customer's experience." She was speechless. "All because of a stupid coupon?" Jennifer leaned forward. "No, all because of your choices. But you have an opportunity here. Your story has touched people. Yes, even while they condemn what you did. You can make this right. You can help others in your situation find legitimate resources instead of turning to fraud." The lawyer stood up, and picked up his papers. You could try a plea bargain to reduce your sentence. But your reputation has already been destroyed. So I suggest you stop worrying about the viral video and start worrying about your bank account. She sat there, feeling the weight of reality bearing down on her. The video would fade with time. People would forget about it. But the lawsuit? That would haunt her for years. Jennifer's final words stayed with her as she left the police station with her head down, trying to ignore the curious looks from the few reporters who were already starting to appear. Sometimes, we make desperate choices that seem like our only option. But there's always another way, one that doesn't hurt others or yourself. I hope you find it. Now, all Melissa had to do was wait for the trial. And for the first time in her life, there was no discount coupon that was going to get her out of this. What do you think? Was Melissa's punishment too harsh given her circumstances? Or did she get exactly what she deserved? The comments are always divided on stories like these. And if you like this video, subscribe to the channel and like it.